It began subtly, a shift so small it could have been missed if not for how well I knew her. Sarah's routine, once as familiar to me as my own breath, started to change. A lingering scent on her clothes that didn't belong. A strange tone in her voice when she answered certain calls. Our shared diary, once a place where we planned vacations, jotted silly notes, and mapped out our future, now locked behind a password I was never given. The woman I'd loved for years, the one I shared a home, dreams, and memories with, was slowly becoming a stranger. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Perhaps stress at work, or some personal struggle she hadn't yet found the words to express. But deep within me, a small, insidious seed of doubt had taken root, and each day it grew, coiling tightly in the pit of my stomach. Then came that night. She was in the shower, steam curling out from under the bathroom door. Her phone buzzed on the dresser. I stared at it, heart pounding. I knew I shouldn't, but temptation has a voice of its own. I reached for the phone. The screen lit up. A message from someone saved as, "Ethan, can't wait to see you again tonight. You're incredible." My hands went cold. My heart crashed against my ribs. In an instant, everything fell apart. All the dismissed thoughts, the half-ignored intuition, they were right. Sarah was having an affair. The realization hit like a punch to the gut. I felt sick, disoriented, betrayed. How could she? After everything we had shared, our vows, our quiet mornings, our laughter, the life we had so carefully built. Was it all performance? I confronted her that night. She stood wrapped in a towel, dripping water onto the floor. But she didn't deny it. She didn't lie. She simply looked at me, and in her silence, I found my answer. She tried to explain, to offer justifications, weak strings of words that fell flat against the roar in my ears. Nothing she said mattered. I could only hear the sound of something precious breaking. I slept on the couch that night. The distance between us no longer metaphorical. It was real, cold, and cavernous. As I lay staring at the ceiling, my heart raw and throbbing, I felt an unexpected emotion twist inside me. Not just hurt or anger, but something sharper. A resolve. Sarah thought she could betray me and walk away unscathed. She had made me look like a fool. But I wouldn't stay broken. I wouldn't let her escape the weight of her betrayal. She would feel it, taste it, regret it. My revenge wouldn't be wild or messy. It would be measured. I would dismantle her life piece by piece, with precision and quiet calculation. She had grown sloppy, thinking she was untouchable. Her phone was unlocked, her emails open. Every detail of her secret life laid bare before me. And I read it all. Every plan, every sweet nothings exchange between her and Ethan. He had no idea what he'd stepped into. A man thinking he'd won the heart of someone special, not knowing he was just a piece on my board, a tool in a game I had already begun to play. Sarah's mistake wasn't just cheating. It was underestimating me. And now, she would lose everything. I began to spin a web so intricate, so carefully constructed, it could rival the very betrayal that had driven me to this edge. With steady hands and a heart burning cold, I forged emails, planted messages, and crafted a digital narrative so seamless, so convincing, that it painted a single damning picture. Sarah was entangled in an affair with a married man, and together they were plotting to vanish, taking everything we had built, every piece of the life we had created, with them. The day of reckoning arrived sooner than expected. There was a knock at the door, sharp, authoritative. When I opened it, 2 officers stood on the threshold, a warrant gripped tightly in hand. I stepped aside wordlessly. Behind me, Sarah appeared barefoot and stunned, her morning robe clutched around her. Confusion flickered in her eyes. Then the charges were read aloud. Fraud, embezzlement, and adultery, still punishable by law in our state. I watched as her face drained of color, the blood retreating from her cheeks like the tide pulling away from a barren shore. She stammered. Denials. Please. None of it mattered. The evidence I had so meticulously arranged was airtight. Emails traced to her account. Financial discrepancies pointing to stolen funds. Romantic exchanges with Ethan. Carefully constructed and irrefutable. The officers moved with mechanical precision. As they turned her in handcuffs, our eyes met, just for a second. And in that sliver of time, I saw the fear, the confusion, and then the truth. The moment she realized this was no mistake, that she had been played, outmaneuvered, punished, and in her eyes, I saw something else, the heavy, unrelenting weight of consequence. The officers asked me if I wished to press charges. My voice was calm, composed, almost detached. Yes, I said, not looking away from her. She needs to be held accountable. What followed was a spectacle I could never have predicted. The trial gripped our small town like a storm. Sarah, once admired, charitable, graceful, seen as the very embodiment of a successful woman, was now dragged through headlines and whispers. A media frenzy painted her as a criminal, a liar, a woman who betrayed not only her husband but her community. The jury didn't deliberate long. The evidence, after all, was devastating. The verdict, guilty on all counts. As the judge read out her sentence, I sat there and felt nothing. No triumph, no joy, just a strange, weightless detachment. This wasn't the moment I had dreamed of when I first imagined revenge. I hadn't wanted her destroyed, at least not like this. What I had wanted, I realized, was for her to understand, to feel the depth of the pain she had caused me. And in that regard, I had succeeded. But the cost was higher than I had imagined. In the days that followed, the silence around me grew louder. Friends disappeared, uncomfortable in the aftermath, unsure what to say or how to act. Our home, once a haven of warmth and shared dreams, echoed with emptiness. Ghosts of our laughter, our arguments, our whispered promises clung to the walls like dust. Life moved on, as it always does. Slowly, reluctantly, I threw myself into work, into rebuilding what had been broken, brick by shattered brick. And then one afternoon, a letter arrived. It was from Sarah, written from prison. The envelope was plain, her handwriting unmistakable. I opened it with trembling fingers, unsure of what I expected. An apology? A plea? But it was neither. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't say she was sorry. She wrote of Ethan, how he had vanished the moment the scandal broke, how he stripped her what little she had left, money, dignity, hope, and disappeared without a trace. And in those lines, she confessed something she had never admitted before. She had never truly loved him. What she felt was an infatuation, a hunger for validation, for danger, for something different. The thrill had blinded her, and by the time she saw the truth, she had already lost everything. Reading those words, I didn't feel the vindication I thought I would. I didn't feel powerful. I felt empty. My revenge had landed with precision. It had done exactly what I set out to do. But the satisfaction I'd imagined had never come. Instead, there was a hollow space inside me, a void no victory could fill. Justice, I had learned, is a double-edged blade. It can bring closure, but it can also leave scars, deep, quiet ones that never quite fade. And sometimes, the most devastating punishment isn't prison or disgrace. It's the realization that the person you loved was already gone long before you ever struck back.